Rain poured over the metal city of Arindra 9 like silver dust. The streets were dark and quiet, filled with the hum of power lines and the glow of blue signs written in alien language. Inside a small, forgotten workshop, a single light still burned. Eli Marin, a human engineer, sat beside his old workbench. His hands were rough, covered with tiny scars from years of fixing broken machines. He was once part of something greater, a builder during the war, but now he repaired scraps for food. The rain hit the windows harder. Then came a sound, knock, knock. At first, Eli thought it was the wind. Then the knock came again, soft, weak, almost like someone too afraid to ask for help. He walked to the door, opened it, and stopped. A small alien girl stood there shaking. Her skin was pale violet, glowing faintly under the rain. Her clothes were torn, her eyes wide with fear. One arm was missing, just an empty sleeve hanging by her side. "But please," she whispered. "You fixed things." Eli froze. He had seen her kind before. Talescape, the ruling species of the Empire. They hated humans. They ruled over them. Every law said he must not even touch one, not without permission. He could have closed the door. He could have pretended not to hear. But the girl's voice was small, too small for this cruel world. "Come in," he said quietly. Inside the workshop, the machines hummed, filling the silence. Eli gave her an old blanket and placed a heater near her feet. She looked around the messy room with curious eyes. Gears, wires, half-built drones, and small toys made from scrap metal. "Your arm," he said softly. She looked down. Her lip trembled. "They cut it. I was bad. I touched human ground." Eli felt his chest tighten. On Arindra 9, humans were not allowed to live near Thalkiri land. The idea that a child was punished for stepping on human soil made him sick. "You shouldn't have come here," he said, his voice low. "I know," she said. "But you fix things. They said you can fix anything." He looked at her again. So small, so broken, and still hopeful. Something inside him moved. Something he thought was long dead. "What is your name?" he asked. "Lura," she said softly. "Lura of House Vale." Eli froze. The House Vale was royal, the family of the queen herself. This was not just an alien child. This was a princess. Helping her could mean his death. Still. He nodded slowly. "All right, Lura, I'll build you a new arm." Her eyes widened. "You will?" "Yes, but you must tell no one. Not even your mother." She nodded quickly, her face full of light for the first time. Eli went to work. He brought out old parts from boxes. Tiny motors, silver wires, pieces of energy crystal. His hands moved like they still remembered how to heal. The machines whirred softly as he shaped a small, delicate limb. Metal bones, smooth joints, flexible fingers. The child sat close, watching him with silent wonder. "Does it hurt?" she asked. "Not anymore," he said with a tired smile. "I stopped feeling pain a long time ago." When the limb was ready, he attached it carefully. The connectors hissed as they joined with her living tissue. For a moment there was only silence. Then the light inside the limb flickered on. The fingers moved slowly, then perfectly. Lura gasped. "It works. I can move it." Eli smiled, though his eyes were heavy. "It's not just metal. It's part of you now. Don't forget that." She laughed, a soft musical sound that filled the cold room with warmth. For that one small moment, the world outside, the empire, the war, the hate, did not exist. There was only a man who fixed things and a child who believed in him. Then a sound broke the peace. A deep rumble. Eli turned to the window. Through the rain, the sky glowed with golden light. A massive ship was descending from the clouds. A royal cruiser, marked with the crest of the Thalkiri queen. Lura's smile vanished. "That's my mother's ship." Eli's blood ran cold. "Your mother? The queen?" "She must have tracked me," Lura whispered. Her new metal hand trembled. "She will kill you for touching me." Outside, armored soldiers landed near the workshop, their weapons glowing. A voice echoed from the ship's speakers, deep, royal, commanding. "Human engineer Eli Marin, you have something that belongs to the crown." Eli's hands clenched. He looked at the child and at the small figure who trusted him, then at the shadow of soldiers moving outside. "I can't let them take you," he said quietly. Laura's eyes filled with tears. "You'll die." "Maybe," Eli said, a faint smile on his lips. "But you're not broken anymore." The door began to shake as the soldiers tried to force it open. The light flickered. The workshop filled with the sound of thunder and fear. Eli stood in front of the child, his body between her and the door. The first crack of light split the air, and the Queen of Irindra 9 was about to meet the human who dared to fix her daughter. The door burst open with a flash of golden light. Wind and rain rushed in as armored guards filled the doorway, their weapons humming with blue energy. Eli didn't move. He stood between them and the small alien child behind him. Through the storm stepped the Queen of the Thalkiri Empire. Her tall figure shone under the light of the cruiser above. She wore a robe woven from silver threads that shimmered like starlight. Her eyes were golden and fierce, and yet behind that fire something human glimmered. Pain, perhaps. Laura gasped softly. "Mother!" The Queen's gaze snapped to her daughter and froze. The child stood with a new metallic arm glowing faintly blue, the work of human hands. For a long, terrible moment, no one spoke. The rain drummed on the metal roof. Then the Queen's voice came, calm but cold. "You touched her." Eli didn't answer. He could feel every guard ready to shoot if he moved wrong. "I fixed her," he said finally, his voice steady. The Queen's golden eyes narrowed. "A human dares touch royal flesh?" Eli's hands trembled slightly, but he didn't step back. "I didn't see royal flesh. I saw a child missing her arm." The guards looked at each other, unsure if they should laugh or shoot. The Queen raised her hand and they froze. "You risked your life for her," she said. Eli shrugged. "I didn't think about that." The Queen's gaze softened, almost invisible beneath her crown. She walked closer, her cloak brushing the wet floor. The room felt smaller, heavier. She stopped in front of her daughter and stared at the new arm. The metal shimmered like moonlight against violet skin. The fingers moved smoothly as Laura flexed them nervously. "Who designed this?" the Queen asked. "I did," Eli said. "From old human parts and scraps." The Queen's eyes lifted to him. "You made something beautiful." "Out of trash." Eli looked at the child. She deserved more than what the world gave her. Laura stepped forward suddenly, clutching her mother's robe. "Please don't hurt him." "He helped me. He was kind." The Queen looked down at her child. The same child she believed lost to shame and punishment. Her expression broke for the briefest second. "Laura, you disobeyed the law," she said, her voice trembling. "You stepped on forbidden ground." Laura looked up at her mother, tears shining. "It wasn't forbidden. It was just grass and flowers and sunlight. Humans grow beautiful things." The Queen blinked, as if the word beautiful sounded strange coming from her daughter's mouth. The room went silent again. Finally, the Queen turned back to Eli. "You will come with me," she said quietly. Eli frowned. "To prison?" Her golden eyes studied him. "To the palace." The guards looked shocked. So did Eli. "Why?" he asked. The Queen looked at Laura again. "Because you built something our finest engineers could not. And because my daughter smiles again." They flew through the storm in the royal cruiser. Eli sat in silence, surrounded by guards. The Queen stood near the window, watching the lightning flicker across the city. He could still hear Laura's laughter echoing faintly in the corner. For the first time since the war, he felt something strange. Hope. When they landed at the royal palace, the sight took his breath away. The towers of crystal and steel rose into the clouds, shining with living energy. Servants and officers stared in disbelief as their Queen walked side by side with a human engineer. In the throne hall, the Queen dismissed her guards and faced him alone. "You should be afraid," she said. "Many would see you executed for touching my child." Eli met her gaze. "Are you one of them?" She was quiet. Then softly, "I was once." She turned to the window where the storm still raged. "Do you know why I came in person?" Eli shook his head. "Because the sensors that track royal life signs showed something impossible," she said. "When I found Laura missing, I followed the signal here. Her life signs were stable again, stronger than before. Your work saved her." Eli said nothing. The Queen's voice dropped lower. "You remind me of someone I knew once. A human who fought beside me during the old wars. He built machines that could heal and destroy. He said humans create meaning where others see only waste." Eli looked surprised. "You knew a human engineer?" She nodded slowly. He died long ago. Silence filled the room again. Then the queen said something no one expected. You will stay in the palace, Eli blinked. Stay? Why? She faced him. Because I need you to build again. Not weapons, not tool, but bridges. Between our worlds. He stared at her, speechless. I don't build bridges, he said quietly. I fix broken things. The queen smiled faintly. Then start with us. That night, in a quiet chamber of the palace, Lura sat by her window, flexing her new arm under the moonlight. It glowed softly, almost alive. Far away in his new room, Eli sat by a table filled with alien metal and human tools. For the first time in years, he felt purpose. Not as a soldier, not as a worker, but as a builder of hope. But outside, in the deep halls of the palace, shadows moved. Not everyone wanted peace. Not everyone wanted a human so close to the royal family. And in the silence, someone whispered, The queen has brought danger into her own home. The palace was silent at first. But silence in a place like this always carried danger. Golden lights shimmered on the walls, but shadows lingered longer than they should. Eli Marin followed Lura and her mother through corridors of polished metal and glass. His new surroundings were beautiful, almost unreal, but he sensed the weight of eyes on him. Some curious, some suspicious, all sharp. The queen walked beside her daughter, her presence commanding. Lura held Eli's arm lightly as if anchoring herself in this strange foreign world. Her laughter was gone now, replaced by quiet caution. Stay close, the queen whispered to her daughter. Many here do not trust humans. Eli felt it too. The guards who had once stood ready to execute him now watched with cold, unreadable expressions. Some of the servants' whispers brushed past his ears like wind. Human. Outsider. Danger. In the quiet of the royal library, Eli set down his tools. Ancient scripts and star charts surrounded him. Lura perched on a nearby bench, her glowing hand flexing slowly, fascinated by her reflection in the polished metal. You're really brave, she whispered, her small voice breaking the silence. Eli shrugged. I don't feel brave, I just do what seems right. Lura looked at him wide-eyed. Most humans would run. Most aliens would kill you. He smiled faintly. I guess I'm not like most humans. She giggled softly, a sound that felt like sunlight in the cold library. But even as she laughed, her golden eyes flicked to the shadows. Every corridor, every corner. She knew the palace better than he did, and she already felt the tension around them. Late that night, Eli worked at a small table, examining a piece of alien alloy. It would become part of a device to help Lura control her new arm better. Smooth motions, faster reflexes, precise touch. He didn't notice the whisper at first, soft and deliberate. He's a human. He shouldn't be here. Eli froze. He recognized the voice, one of the palace aides, a woman with sharp eyes and sharper words. He touched the princess. That alone is enough to make him a traitor. Eli looked up. The aide melted into the shadows before he could act, but her words lingered, heavy like chains. He realized then. The queen had brought him into the palace, yes, but not everyone welcomed him. Some wanted him gone. Some might even try to kill him before morning. Morning came quietly. The golden sunlight filtered through the palace spires, but the air still carried tension. Eli ate breakfast with Lura and the queen, who watched him carefully. You've already made a difference, the queen said. My daughter moves with more confidence than she did before she arrived here. Lura's glowing arm flexed slowly. I feel stronger, she said. I feel like I can do anything, Eli nodded. You can. You're not broken anymore. But even in this light, Eli could see the cautious glances from the other nobles. The silent threat he sensed last night was real, and it wasn't waiting for nightfall to strike. Later, Eli was summoned to a smaller chamber. The walls were dark, lined with ancient alien tech. A tall figure stepped from the shadows, Commander Raylith, head of the palace guard. His eyes were sharp and unyielding. You're clever, Raylith said, voice low, but clever humans die quickly in this palace. Your work, it intrigues me, but your presence here is dangerous. Eli met his gaze steadily. I'm here because the child needed help. Nothing else matters to me. Raylith smiled coldly. Careful, engineer. In our world, intent matters little. Power decides everything. Eli nodded, understanding perfectly. Threats here were not always shouted. They were silent, creeping, waiting for the right moment. Back in Lura's chamber, the girl watched Eli work on a small training device for her arm. Her golden eyes sparkled with excitement, but she spoke softly, almost a whisper. "You're not afraid?" Eli paused. "I am. But fear doesn't stop me, it just tells me to be careful." She nodded. "Then I will be careful too. We'll face it together." Her trust struck something deep in him. For the first time in years, he felt not just responsibility, but connection. Someone depended on him completely, not just for survival, but for hope. That night, shadows moved again. The aide from the library, Commander Rayleigh, and a few whispering nobles gathered in secret. "The human engineer cannot stay," one hissed. "He undermines the laws, and the Queen trusts him too much." "We must act before he teaches the princess too much," another whispered. "Or worse," the first warned, "before the Queen herself begins to see the truth, that humans can be more than enemies." Outside, rain began to fall once more, drumming on the palace spires. Inside, Eli slept lightly, unaware that every step he had taken to help Lura had been watched, measured, and quietly judged. The silent threat had grown stronger overnight. And when it finally moved, neither Eli nor the child would be ready. The palace never truly slept. Even when the lights dimmed, the corridors whispered with secrets. Eli Marin had learned this quickly. The grand walls of crystal and steel gleamed under the moonlight, but inside shadows moved, plotting. He awoke before dawn, as he often did. His workbench was still cluttered with parts for Lura's training device. Outside her chamber, the soft hum of palace energy filled the air. Every sound, even the smallest creak, seemed louder at night. Eli knew he was being watched. The whispers from last night were not idle threats. Someone or many wanted him gone. He did not know their names, but he knew their intent. In the hall outside Lura's chamber, two cloaked figures slipped quietly along the walls. Commander Rayleigh was among them, his expression unreadable. He whispered to the other, a young aide. "The human cannot stay. If he touches the princess again, even for training, it undermines our control. The Queen trusts him too much. This ends soon." The aide nodded. "Tonight we make our move." Eli in his room felt a shiver of unease. Something was off. His instincts, honed over years of survival, told him danger was near. He looked at his tools and parts. They were simple machines, but in the right hands they could be weapons. Not to kill, but to protect. By mid-morning, Lura entered the training room. Her new arm moved smoothly, almost as if it had always been hers. She practiced lifting small weights, flexing her fingers, adjusting her grip. Eli watched, proud but tense. "Careful. Push too hard and you'll hurt yourself." "I won't," Lura said confidently, though her eyes flicked to the doorway. "I can feel them watching me." The whispers. Eli nodded. "Then we train harder. We prepare. They may strike, but we'll be ready." It was true, the palace had many enemies even within its walls. Those loyal to the old ways could not bear to see a human touch royal blood and succeed. Eli understood now that his presence was more than unusual. It was dangerous. Later that afternoon, a secret meeting was held in the shadowed corridors beneath the palace. Commander Rayleigh, the aide from the library, and two senior nobles gathered around a holographic map of the palace. "He teaches the princess skills," Rayleigh said. "By next week she may surpass the guards in speed and reflex. Then she will see him as a protector, not an outsider." "Exactly," whispered the aide. "And then the Queen may defy tradition. She may see humans as equals. That cannot happen." "We strike tonight," another noble said, "while the Queen dines with foreign diplomats. He will be alone with Lura. That is our chance." The plan was simple, cruel, and efficient, but they underestimated Eli's skill and Lura's courage. That evening, Eli returned from the lab, carrying components for Lura's reflex exercises. The palace seemed calm, but the air was heavy. He sensed it, a silent tension threading through every corridor. "Something is wrong," he murmured. Lura looked at him, golden eyes bright with understanding. "Yes," she said softly. "They are planning something. I can feel it in the walls. They do not want you here." Eli knelt beside her. "Then we prepare. Whatever comes, we face it together." She nodded. Together. As night fell, the Queen returned from her diplomatic meeting. Her presence filled the palace with light and authority. Guards lined the hall, but Eli noticed the subtle glances, the hesitation, the hidden anger of some nobles. He realized the conspiracy was not just against him. It was against the Queen's judgment. Dinner was tense. Conversations were polite but thin. The Queen spoke little, her eyes often on Eli, a silent acknowledgement of the trust she placed in him. Meanwhile, whispers traveled under the table unnoticed. Eli felt the weight of every eye, every silent accusation. He did not flinch. The training, the bond with Lura and his years of survival had prepared him for more than machines. They had prepared him for this. Later, when the palace was quiet, Eli and Lura returned to the training room. He set up the small device that helped her coordinate speed and precision with her new arm. "Tonight," he said softly, "we learn more than strength. We learn awareness. Every movement, every sound, it tells a story. You must trust it." Lura's eyes sparkled. "I will. I trust you." Eli smiled faintly. "Good. Then no one can surprise us." Outside, shadows moved through the halls. The conspirators crept toward their target, unaware that the human engineer was not just a fixer of broken limbs, but a thinker, a strategist, a protector. The silent threat in the palace was real, but Eli had learned long ago, kindness and skill can defy even the deadliest plans. In the quiet darkness, a small arm flexed perfectly under the light of the moon. Lura's golden eyes met Eli's, and they both knew, whatever came, they would face it together. And the palace, for all its shadows, would soon learn a human who dared to fix a princess was not so easily defeated. The palace night was silent, yet it buzzed with hidden tension. Eli Marin knew instinctively that the conspiracy would move tonight. Every shadow seemed alive, every corridor a possible trap. Lura's training had sharpened her reflexes, but the danger they faced was beyond any lesson he could teach. Eli worked quietly in the training room, checking her arm's mechanisms one last time. The small glowing fingers flexed and contracted perfectly. Lura stood beside him, her golden eyes wide but steady. "Are you ready?" he whispered. "I am," she said. "But what if they try to take me?" Eli shook his head. "Then we fight together. No one touches you without passing me first." Outside the room, the palace's shadows shifted. Commander Ralith, the aide from the library, and two conspirators crept down the hall, armed with energy blades and tranquilizer devices. Their plan was precise. They would strike while the queen dined, isolate the human, and retrieve the princess. But they underestimated Eli's careful observation. He had noted the subtle signs of movement outside, the faint reflections on polished floors, the soft pressure of footsteps. He could hear whispers in the walls, and now he could prepare. "Lura," he said softly, "remember what we practiced. Stay calm, follow my lead, and trust your instincts." She nodded, gripping his hand. The conspirators reached the training room. Ralith signaled, and the aide pushed the door slightly open. The room appeared empty at first, lit only by the pale glow of Lura's arm. "Inside," the aide whispered. Eli's eyes flicked to the doorway. He moved first, silently, and grabbed a small magnetic rod from the table. Not a weapon to kill, but a tool to disarm. With a sharp flick, he knocked the tranquilizer device from the aide's hand. Ralith stepped in, surprised. "Clever human," he barked. Eli didn't answer. He moved again, stepping forward to protect Lura. With precise, fluid motions, he deflected Ralith's energy blade with the magnetic rod. Sparks flew. The room filled with the sound of metal clashing, the faint hum of power lines, and the steady heartbeat of determination. Lura watched, frightened but inspired. Eli's hands were steady, his movements calm, a human who did not fight out of hate but to protect. Ralith lunged again. Eli sidestepped and tripped him with a cleverly placed cord attached to the table. The commander fell startled, giving Eli a few precious seconds. "Now, Lura," he whispered. She raised her glowing arm instinctively. The energy pulses from her limbs sent a brief shockwave, enough to push the other aide backward. Her eyes widened with surprise, and then she smiled. "It works." Eli nodded. "It works because you believe it works. Always trust yourself." The conspirators regrouped quickly. They were skilled and dangerous, but Eli had the advantage of preparation, courage, and Lura's newfound abilities. Together they moved in unison, a human and a child against trained palace guards. One of the nobles lunged from the side, aiming a blade at Lura. Eli caught it mid-air with the magnetic rod, spinning it away and sending the noble sprawling to the floor. Lura moved behind him, her glowing arm reaching out to gently push another attacker back. It was chaotic. Sparks, shouted orders, and the sound of heavy boots echoed through the room. But Eli's calm leadership guided them. Every movement was precise, every response calculated, Finally, the last of the conspirators stumbled against the wall. Rylith tried to recover, but Eli stepped forward, calm and unyielding. "You wanted to take her," Eli said, voice firm. "But you forget, kindness is stronger than fear. And a human who saves an alien princess? That is a story your palace will remember." Rylith hesitated, realizing he had underestimated them. His golden eyes, cold and sharp, flickered with something new: respect. He backed down, signaling retreat. The shadows of the palace receded. Silence returned, broken only by the distant hum of power lines and the faint drip of rain from outside. Lura ran to Eli, gripping his hand. "You saved me," she whispered. He shook his head. "No, we saved each other. Remember that." The queen entered quietly, her golden eyes wide with amazement. "I see now," she said softly. "Not just strength, but heart. You both have it. And perhaps this is what my kingdom needs." Eli looked at her. "Heart can fix what power alone cannot." The queen smiled faintly. "Indeed, and tonight you have proven it. But be warned, not all threats end when the first strike fails." Outside in the palace halls, the surviving conspirators whispered, plotting their next move. Eli and Lura had won tonight, but the game was far from over. That night, Eli returned to his small workshop within the palace. Lura practiced with her arm, moving faster, more confidently. She flexed her fingers, feeling alive and capable. Eli watched her, a strange warmth in his chest. He had come to the palace as a simple engineer, a fixer of broken things. But now he understood, he was building more than machines. He was building trust, courage, and hope between two worlds, and the palace, for all its secrets and shadows, had learned one truth. A human who dares to act with heart can stand against the greatest threats, even when the enemy is inside the walls. The palace was quiet again, but Eli Marin knew the calm was dangerous. The first strike had failed, but the conspirators were still there, hiding in the shadows, waiting for their next chance. Every hallway, every door, and every corridor seemed alive with silent eyes. Eli and Lura returned to their training room. The child's new arm glowed softly under the moonlight, a reminder of what they had fought for. "They'll come again," Eli said quietly, his voice steady but heavy. Lura nodded, her golden eyes reflecting determination. "I know, but tonight we'll be ready." Eli paused. "We can't do it alone. Not if they've learned our patterns." Lura tilted her head. "Then we need help?" "Yes," Eli replied. "A hidden ally. Someone inside the palace who doesn't want them to succeed." He didn't have to wait long. That night, as he worked on refining Lura's training device, a soft knock came at the door. No one spoke. Eli moved cautiously, his instincts alert. The door opened just enough to reveal a small, hooded figure. It was a young palace technician, someone who had been silently observing Eli since his arrival. "You're the human who saved her," the technician whispered, voice trembling but firm. "I've seen what you can do, and I want to help." Eli studied the figure carefully. "Why?" he asked. "Because I've seen the palace from the shadows," the technician said. "There are those who only care about power. They will destroy the queen's trust in you if they can. I cannot let that happen. I owe her that much." Eli nodded slowly. Trust was rare in the palace. And here was someone willing to risk themselves for justice. "Then you are our ally, but you must be careful. One mistake and they'll know you're with us." The technician revealed secret passages, hidden rooms, and surveillance points throughout the palace. They had spent years understanding the palace's secret ways, listening to whispers and noting movements. "This way," the technician said, leading Eli and Lura through a narrow corridor hidden behind a tapestry. "You'll have access to the throne hall, the security systems, and even the guards' schedules. You can plan your defense before they act." Eli's eyes widened. "You've done all this. For us?" The technician nodded. "For the queen and for her daughter. I've watched your courage. I believe in it." Lura's small hand gripped Eli's. "See? Even inside the palace, not everyone is against us." Eli smiled faintly. "Then let's use that." Over the next hours, the three of them worked quietly, setting up devices to alert them if anyone approached, reinforcing doors, and creating traps that could disable the conspirators without harm. Lura practiced her arm movements, each motion faster and smoother than before. Eli watched her, proud. "You're ready," he said. "But more importantly, you're thinking ahead." "That's what makes the difference," she smiled. "I learned from the best," the technician whispered, If they try another attack tonight, you'll know before they reach you. Eli nodded. Good, that's exactly what we need. As night deepened, the conspirators crept again through the corridors. But this time the palace had changed. Doors clicked, alarms flashed faintly, and the shadows were filled with unseen watchers. Raylith, the commander, felt a strange unease. Something's different, he hissed to the aide. They know we're coming, how? The aide shook his head. Impossible. No one should have access to these corridors at this hour. Meanwhile, Eli, Lura, and the hidden ally moved silently through the palace. Every step was calculated, every sound anticipated. The child's arm glowed faintly, alerting them to movement in the hallways. Eli whispered, They think they can surprise us. They can't. Not tonight. And for the first time, Lura felt a sense of power beyond her new arm. She felt the strength of teamwork, of courage, and of human ingenuity standing beside her. Suddenly, a shadow moved in the corner. Lura reacted instinctively, the glow from her arm sending the figure stumbling backward. Eli followed quickly, disarming the intruder before harm could come. The hidden ally whispered, They will try again. But now they know we are ready. This palace has eyes you cannot see, and we will use them. Eli nodded. Tonight we are not just defending. Tonight we show them that courage and kindness cannot be silenced. Outside, in the still night, the palace seemed calm. But inside, a human engineer, an alien princess, and a hidden ally had prepared a defense stronger than any sword. A combination of trust, skill, and heart. For the first time, Eli felt that perhaps even in a world of shadows and betrayal, they could win, not just battles, but hearts. The palace was tense. Every corner seemed to hold a hidden danger, every shadow a potential enemy. Eli Marin, standing beside Lura and their hidden ally, knew that tonight would decide everything. The conspirators had struck before, but this time, the tables were set against them. The queen had retired to her chambers, unaware of the full extent of the preparation. But Eli didn't need her to act. He had the child, the secret ally, and his own experience, and he knew courage and strategy could outmatch even the deadliest force. Raylith and the conspirators moved silently through the corridors, confident in their plan. They thought the palace was still vulnerable, that the human engineer was unprepared. Inside the training room, Eli checked Lura's glowing arm. Remember, he whispered, every movement counts. Stay calm, trust your instincts, Lura nodded. Her golden eyes reflected determination. I won't let them take us. The hidden ally peeked out the window, scanning the halls. They're coming soon. Eli held up a hand. Let them come. We are ready. The first conspirator appeared in the doorway, stepping softly but confidently. He didn't expect what awaited him. A faint hum, barely audible, filled the room. An alert from Eli's devices. Before he could act, a small magnetic trap launched from the floor, disarming him instantly. Raylith followed, charging forward with his energy blade. Eli met him with calm precision, deflecting the attack. Sparks flew as metal clashed against metal. Raylith snarled. Impossible. It's not impossible, Eli said, steady and fearless. It's human ingenuity and a little kindness. Lura stepped forward. Her glowing arm shot a pulse of energy that knocked Raylith backward, giving Eli just enough time to disable the rest of the intruders with non-lethal traps. The conspirators scrambled, but every hallway and corner now worked against them. Hidden signals alerted Eli to their positions. Traps restrained them without serious harm. Lura moved confidently, using her arm to block, push, and disable any who threatened her or Eli. The hidden ally directed them through secret passages, guiding them to intercept conspirators before they could regroup. Every move was calculated, a dance of strategy and courage. Raylith, realizing their advantage, tried a desperate maneuver. He lunged toward Eli with his energy blade raised. Eli stepped aside, catching the blade in a small metal tool he had prepared earlier. A simple rod reinforced with human ingenuity. Sparks flew. You forget one thing, Eli said calmly. No one underestimates a human with heart. With a swift motion, he disarmed Raylith and restrained him using energy cuffs designed by the palace engineer. Raylith's shock turned to frustration, and finally, he slumped in defeat. The remaining conspirators, seeing their leader captured and trapped, surrendered without further struggle. Lura ran to Eli, her glowing arm pulsing softly. We did it, she exclaimed, eyes wide with excitement and relief. Eli smiled faintly. We did it together. Courage, skill, and trust, and that's what won tonight. The hidden ally emerged from the shadows, nodding. I told you. Even in a palace full of secrets, right can triumph over fear and power. Lura hugged Eli tightly. You saved me, and you protected everyone else, too. You're amazing, Eli chuckled softly. I didn't do it for praise. I did it because it was right. The queen entered the room, her golden eyes wide with amazement. She looked at Eli, then at her daughter. I see now. Courage is not measured by rank or weapon, but by heart and action. Eli bowed slightly. I only did what I could. The queen's expression softened. You have shown me that humans and Thalkiri can stand together. You have not just built a limb, but built trust and hope. Lura smiled at her mother. And now I feel strong. I feel safe. The queen turned to the conspirators, still restrained. Let this night be a lesson. Those who plot against kindness and courage will fail. The palace stands for justice, not fear. Later, as calm returned, Eli worked quietly on Lura's training device again. The palace, once full of shadows and danger, now felt alive with hope. Lura practiced her arm movements, each one smooth, precise, and confident. Eli looked at her, proud and tired. You've grown stronger than you realize. Not just in body, but in spirit. Lura's golden eyes sparkled. And I have you to thank. You believed in me when no one else would. Eli shook his head.
I didn't just believe in you.
I believed in what kindness and courage can do, even in a world full of hate. The hidden ally watched from the doorway, silently nodding. You've changed the palace tonight, not just for her, but for everyone. Outside, the palace towers glimmered in the first light of dawn. The conspirators had been captured, the shadows of fear pushed back. For the first time in many years, the Queen's halls were filled with trust and hope. Eli Marin, a human engineer who came to fix a broken limb, had done far more than that. He had built courage, forged trust, and united two worlds in a single act of heart and skill. And Lura, the small alien princess who once trembled with fear, now moved with confidence, strength, and hope, her future glowing as brightly as her new arm. The palace, the kingdom, and even the human engineer knew one thing. Courage and kindness are stronger than fear, and even the smallest actions can change the fate of worlds.